This is the Bax Grant Sports Show. Welcome inside studio. Baxter Colburn alongside my good friend, and looking extra cuddly this morning, Grant Coppersmith. Grant, how are you today?
I'm doing great. You know, sometimes you just need sweatpants and a sweatshirt just to give you a warm hug every morning.
I appreciate when you give me warm. You're kind of like Olaf. You're friendly and you like warm hugs. You know, it works out. Who knew we'd work a Frozen thing in the first minute of the show? Anyway, goodness. Well, thank you again to all of you that continue to keep listening. If you saw maybe on our Facebook page yesterday, our show has now returned to a normal scheduled system. Grant and I are both officially back at school now, so you'll be able to find us live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. So you'll be able to track us that way, keep an eye on us. Remember, we are also on iTunes as well, so you can download the show that way. So make sure to continue to follow us and like us and do all kinds of fun stuff to us and with us, and we will go from there. I don't know. Not like that. It's early. My coffee has yet to fully kick in. But, yeah, we've got a fun show for you today. As we normally start every show, we usually try to go through just some of the general sports news that's going on and then kind of attack the bigger topics that we have featured today. I think one of the interesting things that I saw, Grant, right off the bat, is that one of the San Antonio Spurs players, Danny Green, paid a really nice tribute to Stuart Scott by having his two sayings on his shoes for an NBA game. So as we talked about Stuart Scott a few weeks ago after his unfortunate and far too soon of passing after he lost his battle of cancer. So it's been really nice to see a lot of different people, whether it's been ESPN personalities or sports athletes, kind of showing tributes to him and the legacy that was Stuart Scott.
Yeah, and I was also on the ESPN website last night, and I already saw a Stuart Scott Cancer Foundation that was set up. So It was really nice to see that, just the response of his death happening so quickly, of people trying to positively uplift of what the man did in his life and what he meant to the sports world. So it was really good to see that in the midst of pretty much what I would call a tragedy.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with that. Another interesting one, switching sports over to baseball, it's been announced that Pete Rose will be at the All-Star game in Cincinnati. Despite Pete Rose, with all the issues surrounding him, he was permanently banned from baseball. But because he is a local legend in the Cincinnati area, the All-Star community and the Reds' majority owner, Bob Castellani, said that he will be able to allow Rose to attend this year. Grant, as a baseball fan, how do you react to that?
My thing is, permanently banned means permanently banned. If you're permanently banned from a sport, that means you don't go to the game. You watch it on TV like everybody else, and you deal with it. So I'm really not in agreement with that at all. The commissioner should get on that, because I don't think that should be happening.
No, I agree. And then another headline that we were talking about, Grant, as a hockey fan, you were talking that the NHL All-Star Game is coming up very shortly. Probably one of the most, if not the most notable name in all of NHL right now in terms of just a popular name. I don't know if he's the best player, obviously, but Sidney Crosby, a Pittsburgh Penguins player, was originally selected to make the All-Star Game, but now will miss it due to a lower body injury. Grant, your thoughts on that?
Well, I was actually debating if I wanted to rant on this earlier today, or later today, but I'll just talk about it now, I guess.
Sure.
But
Sorry to steal your thunder.
Oh, no, I have another one lined up. You're
good.
fine.
Okay.
It was my backup.
Okay.
But my problem with that is it's a lower body injury. It just happened. It doesn't seem too severe, and it kind of looks like he's just trying to get out of the All-Star games. He's trying to pull out early, and his teammate, which is the second best player on the team and is a rising star in the NHL itself, is Malkin, and he also pulled out of the All-Star game with the same exact injury generally listed as a lower body injury. So we're really not sure what that entails. They don't seem all that serious. It kind of just looks like they don't want to play in the All-Star game, and they just want to get arrested.
Orlando City SC now has received their 10,000th fan/shareholder, and it is former MLB All-Star, probably he's a Hall of Famer too, I think, Ken Griffey Jr. So he is now an official backer. He is the 10,000th season ticket holder, and they made a huge hullabaloo about it and gave him a jersey and all that fun stuff, but yeah, Griffey came out saying that I've played professional baseball in many cities where soccer is a big success, and the buzz here in Orlando City is unlike anything I've ever seen. He said, my family and I anticipated the arrival of Major League Soccer in Central Florida, and I think that that's cool. In that regards, as someone that is from Florida, I can attest to saying that soccer is huge in Florida. It is absolutely huge. Now, obviously, Ken Griffey Jr. is a big name if you're a sports fan. You know, to just a general, casual person, you're like, oh, well, what's the big deal? It's just Ken Griffey Jr. But I think, Grant, having the backing of an All-Star, an MLB All-Star, a Hall of Famer, I think as a season ticket holder, in whatever capacity, I think is still a big deal.
Yeah, I think that's really cool after hearing that, to see that after retirement, he's still branching out into the sports world. Because I saw earlier that he's also dabbling in golf, too.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
Yeah, that's really cool to see that after he's still branching out and getting popularity for certain sports that might not have that much popularity. I don't know how much golf has, but I don't think it's as popular of a sport with most people because it's not the most exciting, but it's cool to kind of see that he's getting out there, and especially with soccer, that soccer or football,
yes.
however you want to pronounce it, is the biggest sport in the world, and we don't really have much to show for it. When we go to the World Cup, we struggle to get past the group stages, and then we don't make it very far. And I know that's really good for not being a major sport, but I'd like to see us actually compete in it. So I'm glad to see that the soccer world is growing quickly. The support from the last World Cup was far greater than the one previous. There was parties in the streets. And
there was even good support even for the first one, for the 2010 World Cup as well. But it grew substantially, like you said.
Yeah, and so I'm really glad to see that, and past players from other sports to be getting involved with it. That's really great for the sport to grow. Yeah,
I certainly agree. And just a side note here from the article, Griffey's son, Trey, is a wide receiver at the University of Arizona. Griffey is also an avid golfer, like you said. And he said he's hoping to become a scratch player. So we'll see what happens with that. But he said now that he can add soccer supporting to his list of many different avenues that he does now with a lot of free time since he is retired. Grant, one other interesting thing in the soccer world, I know we don't talk about soccer a whole lot on the show, but since the NFL is starting to get to that time of the year where it is no longer, I'm trying not to cry too much, we are going to be branching out into different sports just to kind of continue our blanket coverage. So soccer will certainly be one of them. Baseball is just around the corner. Preseason for Major League Soccer teams started yesterday. People are down in Florida, down in Arizona, California. They're just all, starting their preseason workouts. The draft was last week. They're all just trying to get their ducks in a row and see who's all going to be on their teams. But an interesting headline, or news story that broke the other day is Hope Solo, the U.S. women's national team goalie, who is probably the most, aside from Alex Morgan, is probably the most recognizable and pinnacle face of women's soccer in America. She has once again come into issues with the police. It is her third incident since November of 2012 that it involves alcohol and the police, which anytime you've got that sort of a track record, it's never going to bode well. But because of this incident, Solo has been suspended for 30 days from the U.S. Soccer by the U.S. Soccer Federation. She will miss their 2 European friendly matches against England on February 8th and then against France on February 13th, and will not be eligible for reinstatement until the conclusion of the suspension. Now, Solo's club team, the Seattle Reign, do not plan to take any additional action and suspending Solo, probably because the NWSL season starts in April and they want to make sure they have their star goalie back. But at this point in time, Grant, you have a player like Solo who is very, very accomplished. She is an international sensation. She's known far from all breaches around the world. But you see these issues continue to happen. This is the third time an incident like this has happened with alcohol and the police. And then you've got that 2 cases of domestic violence that she was accused for. But then the charges were dropped because the 2 parties that were involved with her just didn't show up and didn't, act like anything was wrong. So what are your original thoughts, I guess, on this Hope Solo issue?
Well, even though she is probably, in my mind, one of the most famous female athletes of all time, not just even in soccer, but athletes in general.
Or stock car racing, depending on what you were going to say. Because
right.
you were like, stalker. I don't know, maybe.
But even though she is one of the most popular female athletes, I don't think I would want this kind of attitude on my team, because this is what we see and this is what gets out. And it has to be pretty bad for us to see this, because normally teams try to keep this stuff under wraps so it doesn't get out in the media and they don't get extra attention. So it kind of pulls together with, does she have an alcohol problem? Does she have an attitude problem?
I think she does.
And then why would you want that on your team?
Exactly. It's bad for the chemistry of your team.
Exactly. And even though you're a great player, you don't really want that on your team. And she's also getting up there in age. She's been on the team for a while. It might be time to bring in some new talent for the national team.
Yeah.
And I know and I know there's been some talk about, is she ready or is she just done? Is she used up? Is it time for a fresh face in net? So interesting things to see in the next couple months to see what's going to happen with Hope Solo. But my initial thing is that she shouldn't be on the team.
Mm-hmm. So you think that she should be just completely done on the team, even though she's probably got maybe another 3 or 4 years left in her playing career. It's probably about that point in time, maybe longer, but soccer, you never really know. Soccer, like hockey, you never know how long you're going to go because the beating that your body can take. But Solo did release a statement about the entire situation once it broke. She said, "I accept and respect the Federation's decision, and more importantly, I apologize for disappointing my teammates, coaches, and the Federation, who have always supported me. I think it's best for me to take a break, decompress from the stress of the last several months, and come back mentally and physically ready to positively contribute to the team." Well, I don't know if her mentally and physically stress relief involves alcohol or not, Grant, but we'll see what kind of a woman Hope Solo is when she comes back. So with that being said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more for you. Don't go anywhere.
Crazy, think about you, baby. 5150, just a side of local. I'm going crazy, think I love you, baby.
Welcome back to the Bax Grant Sports Show. Baxter Colburn with you alongside Grant Coppersmith, as we are now going to chat about the biggest controversy to rock the NFL since I don't really know what. It's not even... Is it really as big a deal as it is, Grant?
I think it's overinflated.
See what you did there. So what are you saying, Graham? What are we talking about then?
We're talking about Deflategate.
Oh my goodness!
The 11 of 12 New England Patriot balls that were significantly underflated from the Colts game.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting last almost week for the Patriots since their 45-7 thrashing of the Indianapolis Colts in the AFC Championship game. Shortly after that game concluded, news broke that the footballs, 11 of the 12 that were used during the game, were underdeflated during the game. Now, the Patriots are being blamed for, if the ball is a little bit less deflated, especially when it's cold, it's easier to grip, allowing quarterbacks to throw the ball better, wide receivers to catch the ball better. I'm still waiting for a solid explanation, Grant, of why, how it helps running backs, because as we saw, LeGarrette Blount ran for almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Colts, and I really would like to see how he was able to have an advantage with this deflated football, because last I checked, all you have to do is hold on to it, and yeah, if it's deflated, it might be a little easier to grip, but at the same time, he's doing the work with his feet, not with his hands or his arms in that regards. But I'm still waiting for anybody, especially from the Indianapolis Colts organization, to come up, because I have seen, and maybe I've missed it, but I've seen nothing from the Colts organization saying, yes, this, that, and the other. I think the one player I've seen was DeQuil Jackson, the linebacker, who picked off Brady during the game, and he said he didn't think the balls were deflated at all.
Right. And you would think that somebody would be able to tell at some point throughout the game. So I'm not arguing that it didn't happen. I'm just arguing about the significance of the game, because I feel like, in my opinion, most people were already picking the Patriots to go into the game. Yeah, or to win going into the game. Yeah, maybe they blew them out a little bit more than people expected to. But yeah, like you said, with LeGarrette Blount, he put 148 yards and 3 touchdowns on them. That in no way has anything to do with the inflation of the ball. So I think this is just getting a little blown out of the media, and I guess that is I mean, I can see that, because it's an AFC championship game, and
usually they're not close, usually, for AFC games.
Right. Well, and also most people just, I feel like, kind of get it out for the Patriots, because this is Tom Brady's 6th Super Bowl,
Yep.
And people, I don't know, not all the time like seeing the same person go to the Super Bowl. They want to see somebody new in the AFC, and they thought that this was Andrew Luck's chance. And
it wasn't.
And a lot of people knew that. So this is what my problem is with this. And later last night, actually, I was looking at the Sports Nation polls, and I found a really interesting poll. They asked the question, what is your take on 11 of 12 Patriots footballs being underinflated during the game? 50% said the Patriots' success is tainted, and 50% says it's not a big deal. So I found that interesting. But the very next poll asked if the Patriots are cheaters. 66% said yes, and only 34% said no. So it's really interesting to see that people really don't care about it, but well, it's 50-50 that some people think it's a big deal and some people don't think. Some people think it's not a big deal, but most people do think that they are cheaters based on their history, because the Patriots have had a history of cheating, along with Deflategate that just happened, Deceptiongate that just happened recently this playoff season against the Ravens, when they were lining up in certain formations that some receivers weren't eligible, but it was still within the requirements of the formation, but Baltimore has never seen it before and said it was Deceptiongate.
Just because Baltimore hasn't seen the formation means
Right.
They need to watch more film. That's on the Ravens organization. That's not on the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots are crafty. We know Bill Belichick is the type of guy that can create all kinds of weird things in terms of offense and defensive schemes. And Baltimore is just probably upset because they lost the game that they knew they were going to lose. New England was the team in the AFC that was almost guaranteed to go right to the playoffs. They've been picked to go to the Super Bowl since, I think, week 1. I know many of my friends that are over at ESPN Milwaukee, they said that the Patriots were their surefire lock in the AFC before preseason even started.
Right, because the only other team is maybe, the Broncos, possibly the Colts. And the Colts, as we saw, was a good team, but near the end of the season, it's like, are they going to show up? Are they not going to show up today? And with a younger quarterback, Andrew Luck, you always don't know. And then with the Denver Broncos, you have Peyton Manning, who's a great quarterback, but same thing. Towards the end of the season, he really started tapering off. And he was great at the beginning, but he wasn't great all the way through. And then on another note, with another Patriots cheating thing that I think also the big one that goes into, I think, the whole Deflategate is the Spygate, which is where they illegally filmed the Jets, their signs, and they found out that the league found out that the Patriots have been illegally videotaping opponents from 2002 to 2007, and I think that has a big thing to play into this, because people have seen them cheat in the past, and now they're cheating again, and people are upset by that, even though it's a little thing as inflating and deflating the balls. And I think that has to go into this. And also another thing that I feel like people are going to be really upset about is just what happened yesterday with the news conference and them both being, both Belichick and Brady being quote-unquote shocked when they found out about it.
Front cover of USA Today.
Yeah, and that's shocking to me that they would say that, because I was watching a news clip from ESPN, and they were talking about how before every game, when the quarterback goes through all the balls and makes sure they're correct. Tom Brady was like, he checked them and then he just didn't care. He wasn't going to focus on the balls. And the quarterbacks that were talking said, there's no way. They don't believe that, because the inflation of the ball is a really big deal, and you definitely notice it.
Well, that's, I feel like, the first thing you do. Anytime, obviously, I've never played professional football, Grant. Surprise. I don't mean to ruin your parade there. I've never played professional football.
Shoot.
I know. But as someone that has played quarterback and kicker in my high school and college days, the first thing you do when you get to the field is you test the ball. You get it, especially for me that I was kicker for a while. You always want to make sure the balls are properly inflated, because kicking is a big part of the game. You want to make sure it's not under-deflated, so that way the ball doesn't go as far. When it's properly inflated, those balls can carry a very fair distance. But even I feel like as like playing backyard football, with your friends, you get the football, and first thing you do is you kind of feel it. You're like, oh, okay, how's this ball feel? Oh, Tim's got a better ball. Oh, Tim, Tim, your ball's a little deflated. Steve, your ball's pretty good. Okay, we'll play with yours. It's things like that. It's like the first thing you do usually is you test the ball. It's like, oh, okay, this ball feels the best. We're going to use this one. So to realize that, and I get it. You're in the heat of the moment. It's the AFC Championship game. More than likely, and I heard this, somebody was joking when they told me this last night, but they said that more than likely these balls were inflated inside before the game where it was warm, and then they were taken outside into the chilly Foxborough air that was probably 20 or 30 degrees at game time. So naturally, a ball is going to deflate when you go from hot to cold. And I've experienced that numerous times playing football and soccer, that you fill the ball up inside because you don't want to do it outside because it's cold. You do it inside where it's warm, and then you take it outside, and then after like 10 or 15 minutes, the ball has lost some air. So New England could have done this without even knowing. It could be, for all, we should be checking with the equipment manager of the Patriots and blaming him and having him speak at the podium and be like, did you fill the balls inside or did you fill the balls outside? It can go numerous ways, and I think that a lot of it, like you said, Grant, is that I think it comes down to the NFL really being upset that New England is going to their 6th Super Bowl since 2000. And it's driving a lot of people mad because everybody thought Peyton Manning was the answer once he went going to Denver last year, and then we saw Denver finally make it to the Super Bowl, and then they got destroyed. And then everyone's like, ooh, Andrew Luck's doing really good this year. Maybe he'll be the answer. Maybe he'll knock Tom Brady off his high horse and Brady embarrass Luck. Brady is 4-0 versus Luck all time. Andrew Luck has never had a good game against the Patriots in his career history. And then who else is it after that? It just kind of tapers off after that. The Baltimore Ravens, Joe Flacco, please. Cincinnati Bengals, Andy Dalton, don't get me started. Pittsburgh Steelers, there's not much of anybody really, Grant.
Right, and even if you want to argue Phillip Rivers, but he's not a decent quarterback anyway, and the Chargers half the time don't make it to the playoffs, and when they do, it's just kind of on the cusp, and then they limp throughout the playoffs, but then they get to the Patriots, and then it's game over. So, yeah, I agree with you that saying most people in the NFL world are mostly just angry that the Patriots are going into their 6th Super Bowl.
So do you believe Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? Tom Brady was quoted as saying, "I didn't alter the ball in any way. Everyone is trying to figure out what happened. I was surprised as anybody when I heard Monday morning what was happening." And Bill Belichick basically said the same thing in his news conference as well, saying they had no clue anything was going on until they went into the office on Monday and saw the headlines and were getting attacked on social media and everything. But so, bottom line, Grant, do you believe Belichick and Brady?
Not for a second. Not for a single second at all.
All right. I do. I think there's a lot of different things going on behind the scenes that I don't think either Belichick and or Brady knew about. I think the point about if the balls were inflated inside and then brought outside is a good one. But at the same time, heat of the moment, you're not thinking too much about it. I still have a hard time with it because if this was Andrew Luck leading the charge for the Colts, saying those balls were deflated, they caused me to not have a good game, this, that, and the other, I don't understand how Brady then had a good game. If they both were playing with the same balls, unless that one ball that wasn't deflated was the ball that Andrew Luck used.
Well, I think it was just 11 of the 12 Patriots balls. It wasn't any of the Colts balls. So the Colts had their specific set of balls that Andrew Luck checked that he had ready to go, and then Tom Brady had the 11 of 12 that he wanted.
Gotcha. Well, you never know. Either way, I think that New England is just being attacked for basically having too much success, and the NFL just needs something to yell at the Patriots about. So, Grant, are you ready to do your rant?
I'm ready.
All right, for those that don't know, Grant's Rant is a portion of the show where Grant gets 30 seconds to rant about anything that he wants in the sports world. Grant, 30 seconds on the clock, sir. What is your topic?
I'm talking about Marshawn Lynch and his attitude problem.
All right, I love it. Ready, get set, go.
Marshawn Lynch has just been fined $20,000 for a obscene gesture that he had during the NFC Championship game after a touchdown. Now, this is just after the wake of having two $50,000 fines the last 2 seasons for not talking to the media. And he's going to have more. And after the NFC Championship game, he blew off the media again. And the NFL came up with a quote saying that they are going to, quote unquote, significantly raise the fine.
Time is up. All right, so Marshawn Lynch, Mr. Skittles man, under a lot of fire right now from the NFL, as he always is, I feel. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, some more fun stuff. Don't go anywhere. Sound is Grant Coppersmith in the morning when he is combing his hair in the mirror. I feel like that's your anthem when you're getting ready in the morning, Grant, is Panama. I can just see you like drumming and having a good old time.
No, I'm probably zombie walking to the mirror more than
Probably.
anything.
That was me this morning, too. My alarm went off, and I'm like, no, not yet, please. Anyway, welcome back to the Bax Grant Sports Show. Baxter Colburn with you, Grant Coppersmith alongside to my right. Final segments of the show here. We're going to talk about an interesting article that Grant found for us. So, Grant, why don't you tell the lovely people what you found?
Well, I found an article written about the Seattle Seahawks cornerback Jeremy Lane saying that Rob Gronkowski is not a good tight end. Now,
excuse me?
Yeah, so the first thing I did when reading this article was clicking his name, which was highlighted, and seeing actually who this guy was.
I've never heard of him, honestly. And we're pretty knowledgeable when it comes to NFL players and stuff. I've never heard of him.
This season, he's had 13 tackles and 1 forced fumble. And that 1 forced fumble is the only really interesting thing in his stat line throughout his entire career. He's had 53 tackles his entire career, and that's it. And against the Packers, he had 7 of his 13 season tackles. So he's not really a big name for the Seattle Seahawks. And then he comes out and is saying...
He was the guy. Yeah, I was saying, was he the guy that replaced Earl Thomas for some of the game?
He might have. Yeah, he might have. Mm-hmm. But he comes out and is saying all this stuff about Gronk, saying that he doesn't like his hands being put on him, and that all they have to do is be aggressive at the line of scrimmage. Which, I mean, I could agree with that to an extent, and I think that showing that since you are an underrated corner that is backup and maybe having to play more, seeing as we still don't really know the extent of Richard Sherman's injury and don't know the extent of how much time he will have in the Super Bowl, which I'd imagine he'd play, but I don't know if that's true.
He's going to be limited. Everything I've heard, he'll be limited for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and so that's probably him making a statement saying, I'm going to be ready. But at the same time, you can say that without just saying a future Hall of Famer, let's be honest. Rob Gronkowski is a future Hall of Fame tight end.
Barring any weird off-the-field issues.
Right. And to come out and say that he's not good, he's okay, he's quoted saying he's okay, I feel like that's really rude and just not... It doesn't have a place. Like, I see what he was trying to do, but why do it? You can say it in a different way to say that you are ready. You can say, oh, yeah, he's a great player, but we've done our studying, we've looked at the film, we know how to take care of him.
It's a media ploy. That's all it is. He's just trying to draw more attention to himself, saying, hey, look at me. I'm this no-name that had 7 tackles in the Packers game, and now I can go talk crap about Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody can talk crap about Rob Gronkowski. If this was Earl Thomas or Richard Sherman, someone that actually has a proven track record of being a good player, I would be a little bit more interested in this. But because of the fact that this is Jeremy Lane, who we know literally nothing about, and he is the one talking mad crap about Gronkowski, I think is literally ridiculous. Because you look at Gronkowski, he's 6'6", he's 265. Do we have an idea of how big? Can you look up how big Jeremy Lane is for me? Gronkowski is a 3-time is a Pro Bowl selection. You look at it, he was even out for the beginning part of the season, Grant. Okay, so Jeremy Lane is 6 feet tall, 190 pounds. That's not awful, but once again, Rob Gronkowski is 6'6", 265 of pure muscle. He's a big man, and as we saw in the game against Baltimore, where Gronkowski ran a fly route down the middle and caught the ball and basically was pushing down Ravens defenders like they were children at a playground for recess, I'm pretty sure he's going to do that exact same thing to Jeremy Lane. And I'm sure if Jeremy Lane is fortunate enough to be on the field with Gronkowski, he's going to try to target Gronk, but I feel like Gronk is going to just need 1 or 2 hits on Lane, and Lane is going to be very defensive, no pun intended, for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and a little interesting fact that I found out, Jeremy Lane has 1 more tackle than Rob Gronkowski has touchdown catches this season.
Oh, my.
So it kind of goes to show the player difference. I'm excited for this game now a little bit more than I was, because I just want to see Gronkowski come out and crush this guy and just make an absolute fool out of him, and then after the game just saying, oh yeah, so you were going to shut me down at the line and not have me do anything, but look at what I did to you. So I'm kind of excited to see that. I hope that does happen. So yeah, but Jeremy Lane, I see what he was trying to do.
Yeah, it's all a media ploy to get in Gronkowski's head, but Gronk is smart enough. Even though Gronk has only been in the league for a few years, he's smarter than that. He's going to let his actions speak, especially with all the issues going on with New England right now.
Right.
I think he's going to just save it for the Super Bowl and probably put Lane in his place. Which, I mean, you can't really argue with. I feel like Gronkowski is the best tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, without a doubt. He would rank as one.
But yeah, Gronkowski is the type of player that when you look at him, he looks almost too big to be a tight end because he's 6'6", 265. But then you see him run and you're like, whoa, this kid's got some speed. He's got terrific hands. And we saw it, 12 touchdowns this season. He caught 82 passes, almost 1,200 receiving yards. It's going to be very difficult for Lane to stop him, even if Lane's even on him, is even assigned to cover him. For the tight end, sometimes it's a linebacker, sometimes it's a safety. It all depends on the package, the defensive package that Seattle is running. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see exactly where he goes with that. But, Grant, you ready to move into some fact or fiction?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, Grant, fact or fiction, question number 1 for you. Fact or fiction that Hope Solo's U.S. men's national team reputation is officially ruined after her latest issue.
I think it's tainted, but I would say fiction because it's not officially ruined, because you can't take away of what she has done for the women's national team. They are, like I said before the show, that soccer really isn't competitive. That's for men. Women, they almost won the thing a while, or 2012 or
2011.
2011.
Yep.
And they lost a shocker in the final. But she's one of the people that put women's soccer on the map. So yes, her reputation is tainted, but she still can be revered as one of the greatest female athletes of all time, in my opinion.
Yes, yep, I agree with that. Not to cut into fact or fiction time, I just received a notification about the Brewers, Grant. The team is in serious discussions with Philadelphia Phillies player, their closer, Jonathan Papelbon. He had 39 saves in 2014. I don't know. I know the name Papelbon. I don't know too much about him. Do you have any initial reaction to that news at all?
I think that would really be decent. I think Brewers pitching could always use an overhaul, with players like Axford having come into the fold every once in a while, so they kind of get stinker pitchers.
Yeah.
I think that I'm kind of on the fence about it because, like I said, their pitching choices are sometimes a bust. The Brewers kind of go after popular pitchers, and then sometimes they don't really pan out.
Very true. Yep.
And so I don't know. This might pan out that same way. We'll see. I like the move, however. I think that would be really good. I would be interested to see what they're giving up for him, though, if it's a trade deal.
All right. Well, back to fact or fiction. Grant, fact or fiction that Mr. Richard Sherman is the best DB in NFL history?
I wouldn't say in NFL history. I would say in the NFL this current season, he is the best. But in history, he would rank up there, but I think it's just a little too early in his season to call him the best
in his career
now. Or in this career, excuse me. Yeah,
yep.
In this career.
Okay. Fact or fiction, Grant, that J.J. Watt deserves the MVP over Aaron Rodgers, especially with Aaron Rodgers' poor playoff performance?
Well, Aaron Rodgers got into the playoffs, and J.J. Watt didn't. I would say that's fiction. Even though Aaron Rodgers didn't play the best in the playoffs, he had a torn calf. Mm-hmm. He was out of his element from what he was used to playing most of the season, which is pockets collapsing, extend the play, get out of the pocket. And he wasn't really able to do that, and you could see that it affected him. But he still played. He didn't play his eliteness that he had the entire season, but he still played exceptionally well, kept the Packers in games, and got him to the NFC Championship game, which you can't overlook that for any quarterback to do. If you are one of the two teams to make it out of all the NFC. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think Aaron Rodgers deserves the MVP, but I would say J.J. Watt deserves that as well, but Aaron Rodgers a little more so.
Yeah, I agree with that. Rodgers certainly is the clear winner in my mind after the season he had. Fact or fiction, Grant, with 4 minutes remaining here. that Tom Brady's legacy hinges on whether or not he wins the Super Bowl.
I would say that's fiction. He has done so many other things, that winning 3 Super Bowls and going to now his 6th. How can you overlook that on this one Super Bowl trip? And even though in the midst of Deflategate, which we've talked about earlier and exhaust how it's probably because he's going to his 6th Super Bowl.
Exactly, yeah. People are tired of Tom Brady.
But I think that it definitely does not hinge. If somebody says, oh, yeah, he lost his 6th Super Bowl he went to, I would just pull out the fact that he won 3 and he went to 6.
Yeah.
So it definitely does not hinge on that in any way, shape, or form. I just think in the current mood, people are a little upset.
Yes, very true. And then final 2 questions, Grant. Fact or fiction that you will watch the Pro Bowl on Sunday?
Fiction, I will not watch the Pro Bowl because it's not exciting for me. I don't enjoy it. I would enjoy it if there was maybe like a skills competition.
There was a few years ago. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if they still do it or not, but they used to. My favorite part was watching the accuracy tests with the quarterbacks and the kickers. Right. Have to make weird field goals and like throw a ball, 50 yards into a trash can and all that stuff. Like that stuff I thought was kind of cool, but yeah, I don't think they have anything like that anymore.
Yeah, I would like to see that. The NHL does it. I would really like to see that back again. And it's the players just aren't into it. They don't want to get injured, which that's totally reasonable. But I wish there was a way for them to actually play because then the game would be so cool. But they don't actually play, and the scores are just huge, and it's not that much fun for me to watch. So fiction, I will probably not watch it.
Yeah, I agree. Fiction for me. I will certainly not be watching it. And then finally, Grant, just kind of a random off-the-wall question. Fact or fiction that the NFL needs teams in Europe?
I mean, that would be interesting. I'd be interested to see it, but
there's London games every year. There's at least 3 of them.
Yeah, and they expanded from the one that they used to have.
Yep.
And weren't there like minor league teams over there?
NFL Europe was a thing for a while. There was about 6 or 7 teams that were based in Germany and a few different places in Europe as a part of the NFL, but that was kind of like the minor league. If you weren't good enough to play for the NFL roster, they wanted to keep you. They usually had a team, quote-unquote team in Europe that they would send you to for the season just to kind of keep you in the system, and if they liked you, they'd bring you back early.
Yeah, so they could maybe make those minor league teams professional teams. I would like that. That would be an interesting idea. My only concern would be is you would logistically, to keep the league balanced, you'd have to add 8 teams. You would have to add a 4-team conference in the AFC and a 4-team conference in the NFC because I feel like they have a really nice system right now.
Yes.
So if you would want to add that, I think that would be a good idea. I'd be interested in it. But travel would also be a concern of mine, and the conferences.
Yes.
So if they figure out those problems, I would not have an issue with having European football teams because that just expands the sport, and that's what you want to see. You want to see the sport expanded, so I'd like to see that happen.
All right, well, Grant is on the bandwagon for NFL Europe teams. Here we go. Let's get it moving. This has been another edition of the Bax Grant Sports Show. Thank you so much for listening. Grant, any final thoughts with 40 seconds left?
I'd just like to say thank you for everybody that's liking the Facebook page, that is hyping us up about it. It's really exciting just to go on Facebook and have people comment and talk to us about it, and to see new people liking the page every day. It's just really cool to see. So thank you, everybody, for your support. It's really great to see that.
Yes, thank you again. We'll see you guys again on Monday at 9 a.m. and make sure to download the latest episodes of the Bax Grant Sports Show on iTunes. For Grant Coppersmith, I'm Baxter Colburn. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.
But if you close your eyes, does it